Wonderful.
Cool.
You should have a tissue, but let's live on the edge. I'm just gonna the whole time.
It's like, yeah. Welcome
Everyone
to the
good.
allergy table.
Exactly. I mean, it's
Okay.
real. It's behind the allergy. I'm a sniffer, guys. I'm a sniffer. I'm gonna edit it out, but I'm a sniffer.
Don't worry,
Right.
so am I.
I'm going to try not to gulp the entire show.
Please gulp. I would love if you gulped. Welcome to Behind the Allergy, a podcast all about allergic conditions, hearing open and honest insights from the people who are behind them, from allergy reactors to freeform brands to allergists. This episode is with the founders of Kitt Medical, a multi-award-winning wall-mounted anaphylaxis kit, like a defibrillator but for allergies. Zak and James founded Kitt Medical for one purpose: for Anaphylaxis Kitts to be every defibrillator's next-door neighbour, enabling emergency treatment for anaphylaxis in schools, businesses, and beyond. Zak has anaphylaxis to nuts and has always wanted to change the face of allergies. And with a design degree, he did just that. Along with his best friend James, who has a keen eye for detail and a passion for making an impact, and a sister who has allergies, they founded Kitt Medical. I hope you enjoyed the episode and go away learning more about their story behind the allergy. So, welcome to Behind the Allergy.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are the first ones. So,
Amazing.
thank you so much for your
We
support.
have the freest diary.
Yeah, we were the keenest on email. We just responded like that.
Yeah, and I love it. I love it. You're always supporting, and I try to always support you. So, you know,
Appreciate
you're coming up, so you're going to get really busy. So I need to lock this in before we get really
We
busy.
will. There's lots coming.
Oh, excited. I'm excited to talk to you about it. Have had allergies and everything for 30 years. Over 30 years. Okay. It's been a long journey. Yeah. And the allergy world has completely shifted from when I was a child. Completely shifted. And I do remember when I was younger that somebody wanted to have epipens everywhere at once. I remember that being a story. And then nothing. Like, just nothing happened. And I feel like I know why. But I want to hear from you guys. Why is it that this is the right time for this to happen? Also, why are you the right people for the job, basically? So, let me have it.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Where to start? Let's tackle question one first, which is, why is now the right time? I think that's partially to do with defibrillators, and it's partially to do with COVID. In my mind, defibs have set the standard for kind of what community healthcare could look like, and whether that's from incidences like Christian Eriksen in that World Cup game, or instances like Oliver King, that kind of set the standard for community healthcare, or communities getting together to put precautions in place, to put safeguards in place to protect people. And then I think COVID also had an impact because you saw what hospitality venues, what venues were willing to do to make sure people feel safe, people felt comfortable. They felt like they could go back to a venue because that venue had put the safety precautions in place, wherever that was. I don't know, glass barriers between tables or apps or whatever it might be. There was a lot of innovation to make sure people felt comfortable. And so that kind of extends beyond those sets of criteria to allergies. And I think the other thing that happened was the legislation changed. So in 2017, the government announced that schools could be added to the list of exempt places who are able to purchase auto-injectors. So before that, it's been basically prescription-only medicine. Only those with the prescription could have it. And then some list of exempt places. Schools had the biggest need. And now that schools can purchase them, you're seeing, maybe not all schools purchasing them, but you're seeing people thinking ahead, people thinking to that kind of community healthcare. Schools are the centre of lots of different communities. So I think those three factors probably allowed us to get going the way we have. There's a schedule called Schedule 17 in the Human Medicines regulations of 2012, which I'm not going to repeat because it's a mouthful every time.
To repeat it.
I say it so often. But it basically provides a list of those places exempt from the restriction of supplying prescription-only medicine, and schools were added to the list. Then there's a couple other places which we'll talk about maybe a little bit later on.
It's like people always say, why aren't you in restaurants? Oh, these would be great in airplanes. Oh, have you thought about hotels? Oh, what about trains? And we're like, no, we've thought about it all. Don't you worry. We want these to be everywhere.
Yeah.
But it is not that everywhere can have the medication. It's everywhere can't have the medication unless they are specifically exempt.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of reverse way of looking at it and thinking about it. And the entire business has been built around fitting into the medication compliance regulations, guidance, and it's kind of why no one's done it before, because it's really difficult.
Yeah.
But it means
it's also not the like attractive part of business. For like as a business it is, but like to shout and scream, oh, we've got this license from the MHRA, like no one knows what the MHRA is.
But I think it is important though for people to understand the oh god, I hate words.
Intricacies.
Yeah,
right?
thank you so much. Intricacies of the business, because it's not that easy. And people think, well, we need them, so everyone should have them. And they don't understand that there's things in place that prevent you from putting it all in place. It's the same thing with, I don't know, planes. People always say, well, why can't we find out that somebody has an allergy on our flight before we go to the flight? I'm like, it's not our problem. It's the flight and the planes. They have to put that in place. They have to put that policy in place.
Yeah.
And if they haven't, you can't be upset with us that the first time that we can tell anyone is at the airport. It's important for people to know how hard it is to do what you're doing. And it is also important to know that people have tried.
yes.
So like, why is it that you have burst through that bubble?
I always wanted to redesign the adrenaline pen because, as I'm sure you know from personal experience, it's difficult to carry around just based on its size. Anyone that needs to pick them up regularly knows they expire way too often. And there's also this massive hesitation around using it. I was terrified to use it. Thankfully, I've never had to use it. But the idea around how can we make this better was something that I wanted to tackle. And I mean, I studied industrial design at university, and when I was looking into it, I found that many other students had actually redesigned the adrenaline pen. And there are other adrenaline pens in other countries that we don't even know about. One of them being the LVQ, which I'm sure you know. Yeah, it's like the sort of square-shaped one. And I was like, why aren't these versions either available to more people, or why don't they ever get launched in the first place? And what I sort of realized was there's just this massive barrier between designing something great and actually creating it and launching it regulations-wise. So I basically looked at the existing medication and I thought, okay, if we can use this, but fill in the blanks, that would be so much better. And looking at defibrillators, looking at bleed control kits, looking at fire extinguishers and all these publicly accessible systems and medications and services, it was a case of basically saying to myself on a selfish level, what do I want to expect if I go into a restaurant or if I was going to school? I'd want the medication to be there. I'd want it to be accessible and visible. I'd want there to be training. I'd want the expiry dates to be managed. And I'd want incidents to be recorded and reported with new medication coming. And that was what we built.
Yeah. I mean, even the fact of the schools let you put it on the wall, if that happened in my school, I would go, oh, people are taking it seriously. People understand. People respect me and understand that my life is just as important. And that just wasn't the case. Like, my mom had to fight to allow me to keep my EpiPen on me. It was always had to be in the nurse's office. There was a big fight for that. So the fact of like somebody who has an allergy in school and seeing that the school has put a kit on the wall, like, I don't even know what that would do, because I can't even imagine that being the case, because that just wasn't the case for me. But I mean, do you talk to the people who have allergies in the schools you put them in? Like, is there a feedback that you see that, you know, they think, wow, this is important?
We refer to it as like the intangible benefits of the kit, because when you're doing that rough or sort of rough and ready cost benefit analysis of, okay, the kit's going to cost us this much for the school. We're going to use it maybe this often, and we get the training. Like, okay, those are just the features, but the intangible benefits that we saw as soon as we started the pilot, where we literally just had like a briefcase with, with some pens inside it, put on the wall, rough and ready. Like, people were already saying, whoa, what is that? Is that a defibrillator? Oh no, it's for allergies. Allergies are that serious? Oh, okay, I should not take the piss out of my friends anymore. Oh, I should, if I've got allergies, absolutely say it when I go to the catering hall, because that's a really serious thing on the wall. If I would need it, then there's no point fluffing around anymore. Like, I don't want to have to use that, and I understand the severity of it now. But at the same time, if I do need to use it, it's there. And my school is clearly now looking out for me. And that's so important. And these are all the things that we wanted to hope for, but we heard it immediately as soon as we got kits in schools. We had school kids going to their nurses and being like, this is amazing, this is wonderful, thank you so much. We one of the first schools we worked with, they had a particularly allergic child who had multiple severe allergies and was suffering from bullying, suffering from anxiety, all these sorts of things. And I called the school just to check in on a random day. And she told us about this child and that he had come into the nurse's office, and the words that he had said about the kit being there was just, it was amazing. And you're not going to get that on any company startup report or any day-to-day conversation, but it's the words and the feelings and the thoughts and testimonials that we get just from existing is amazing.
I got chills, actually, just like thinking of, I don't know, like those little kids that just can't, like, don't feel like, they fit in, and then seeing that the adults, because I feel like it's so important that it's the adults that set the bar. It's the adults that set how children behave around allergies. And if they allow bullying, if they allow people to talk badly about somebody with allergies, that allows the kids to keep going. And if the adults are putting these kits on the wall, it's saying, no, we stand for people who have allergies, and we want to make sure that they are safe. And also, it's not just the students, it's the teachers, and the teachers then feel safe. The teachers then feel like they are supported, because even as an adult, you can come around and come across people who don't care about allergies. And so even that's like, oh, wow, I am now supported by my school, which is really important. You touched on allergy anxiety. I wanted to know whether the kits and working with allergies so closely has increased or decreased your allergy anxiety.
Both. Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
I do remember early on, there was a period of time where it was like, Zak was saying, I can't switch off from it. Like, it's my life up until this point. And then when we got the business going, it was, well, now it's my business and my professional life too. So there was a period of time where it was just everything was allergy. And that had a real impact on like how you felt around firstly the conversation of allergy, but secondly like the day-to-day anxiety.
There was also early times where we were just starting to market, and we were doing a lot on social media, and it was really hard to separate my voice and the business's voice. I remember I put a video of how to use an adrenaline pen up really early on, like back when we were Anna, which was short for Anaphylaxis, and I had to take it down because it was incorrect. Like, it was 98% right in terms of whatever, but having that association of, okay, I'm not just a person, I'm not just a blogger, I'm not just an allergy influencer, I'm a business owner in the compliance and regulation, heavy space of medication, pharmaceuticals, and it comes with a whole nother level of understanding, awareness, appreciation, and communication around allergy, anaphylaxis, and medication, because you can't step a toe out of line. And we make these kits that are meant to be used like in emergency scenarios, in life-threatening scenarios. The idea is that adrenaline is, as other people say, this life-saving medication. That's not a phrase we can actually use, because it's not 100% that adrenaline either saves or not saves, just as much as it's not 100% a fire extinguisher puts out fire or a defibrillator treats cardiac arrest. Like, nothing is ever 100%. And so we can't specifically say that. And yeah, I mean, the original question was on allergy anxiety, but I think overall the communication around what allergy is and how I describe it to people as well has become this weird thing where I almost like jump into what I do for a living when I talk about what I'm allergic to. And so I can be at a restaurant and start talking about my allergies, and they can do something not 100%. And I can start feeling like I want to begin a lecture. and then I also need to be wary that I'm going out with friends, family, etc. And that side of me needs to not be there. And I just need to be the person that either feels safe eating there or not safe eating there. That's what it boils down to. Like, separating the business interest from the personal interest is tough. And
yeah, I mean, when I first started my Instagram almost 10 years ago now, I didn't anticipate how talking about allergies all the time would affect me in my normal life. Because even though I had allergies and talking about it in my life, having other people's comments and having other people share when things don't go right, I didn't realize how that would affect me. But coming out from the other side of it, the connection, the communication with people who say, you know, oh my gosh, I'm not alone, like all of these things, talking to you guys, you know, seeing how amazing that people who have allergies are now going and doing incredible things. I actually feel more confident in my allergies than ever before. But I feel that that's because of people advocating and people sharing their stories. But you advocate all the time with allergies. But is there any time or situation where you find it hard to advocate for yourself or for allergies? Or like, is there a moment where you think, I'm done, I just don't want to educate anymore, you know? Because I'm sure you educate a lot.
No. No, there's periods of time, I guess, where it kind of, for example, there's circumstances like the Allergy Free From show that took place a couple of years ago, where I remember how good it was being able to talk to so many people in the allergy space. But by the end of the show, we were so exhausted, not because it was draining, but because having that conversation, taking in so much information of people's own experiences, just kind of, it compounded over the course of that weekend. And it was so rewarding and great to look back on. But during that period of time, it can get so heavy and so much, especially considering the range of those dealing with allergies and how they navigate their life. But I think on the whole, it's been quite healthy how much we advocate for it. And I think the fact that it is a business allows us to talk about the business side of things as well. Because while there's anxieties with allergy, there's also anxieties with trying to build a business.
Yeah.
So we can switch anxieties, and that's healthy, I think.
I mean, a lot of people don't even think that this is a business. A lot of people don't understand, mostly because I think the relation to defibrillators, and maybe because that's been taken up as such a publicly funded scheme, but also maybe because of the marketing, just the general tone of voice of the amount of awareness we have to do. We get inquiries from people thinking it's a free scheme, it's a campaign, it's this and that and the other. And we also get people saying, why are you charging for this? How are you charging for this? Where does this money go? And they don't understand that it's really hard to run a business. It's really hard to make an impact. And you have to take in money to fund the business. Like, we are doing something no one else is doing. And in order to do that, we've had to do things no one else is doing, including building out a service, getting a license, getting exclusive agreement with pharmaceutical partners, being incredibly young and stand out in the space in which we're in and not looking and sounding like anyone else, and quote unquote making allergies sexy, a lot of people say as well. It's all these things that people don't understand. They're just like, oh yeah, can I get a kit for free? Or we get wonderful inquiries from people that are like, I'm working in a rescue shelter, or I'm in the Scouts, or I'm in my community church. Would you be able to donate a kit? And we literally can't, because it's prescription medication. We cannot give it away.
I know. I mean, anyone who has an EpiPen or auto-injector knows that, like, sometimes it's really hard to get one. I remember when it, like, was it 2020 or 2021, that there were no EpiPens. There was like a massive shortage and like you couldn't get an EpiPen. And that was the first time that I had to go onto another auto-injector. And I was panicked. I was like, well, is it going to be the same? Are we going to? And I was just like so nervous. And EpiPen has been with me my whole life. So I want an EpiPen. I know that it saved my life multiple times. So I want an EpiPen, you know? But to make them, to supply them, to do that, and then to keep the kits going, there's so many things that obviously people don't understand when it comes to it. It is really hard to keep something so personal and something so fearful sometimes going. To keep that going can be really hard. I mean, I took a year off last year because I was like, I can't do it. My anxiety was so high. I just couldn't keep talking about allergies. So to run a business around allergies and to run it in a way that's so personal. You have a sister that has allergies. You have allergies. It's personal. And it's also life-threatening. How do you manage and how do you cope with the setbacks and the barriers that obviously come up, whether it's personal or professional? What are the coping mechanisms that you can like say to people?
We've got each other.
Oh.
True. That's the sweetest thing.
Romance.
That was
ever.
Completely different from what
Do you know what? I'm literally going to just do a heart around it. We've got each other.
Yeah, there's like 1,000 things. The first thing I just wanted to touch on is you get your prescription for £9.
Yeah.
Schools don't. So the Benedict Blythe Foundation came out with their React report recently, and schools are the amount they put that a school is paying per pen is £90. And that
per pen.
And that's also not the worst we've heard. The worst we've heard so far is 130 per pen, because pharmacies are putting a markup on the NHS prices, which are heavily subsidised for those getting prescriptions.
Well, you're talking about 4 pens in an Anaphylaxis kit, and 4 pens can cost upwards of £100 each. And then we provide unlimited training, and then we guarantee 12-month expiry, and then we replace them if they're used for free as well. So
that's the kicker with those £90, £100 pens. So you've got schools out there who are wanting to do a lot and buying £100 pens every 6 to 8 months because their pharmacy's got dodgy expiry dates, and it's awful.
But then also you see all the funding that goes away from schools now, and then obviously NHS, but people who have anaphylaxis should carry their pens, right? So I can see like a school saying, well, they should be carrying their own. So why do we need to carry, you know? And so like, there's always like these barriers that you can come across because people just don't think it's worth the money. And then you think, okay, what's the price on a life? But wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. And to answer the other part, the actual question was, it's the short term and the long term, because getting past those barriers is like, okay, it's the short term feeling of a school taking a kit and it having a measurable impact on the way the staff feel because they've been trained, or the way the students feel because they see it up on the wall. And then thinking long term as well, okay, well, we could eventually be every defib's next door neighbour and have it all subsidised by the government if they wanted to. Yes. And have a measurable impact. But it goes back as well to the measurable impact you're having on those who aren't buying the kit but benefiting from it. So the students, we might not see that for 5 to 10 to 20 years. There could be a whole new wave of people doing, I don't know, allergy innovation that we're not going to know about, but we've maybe had some impact. And so is this podcast, and so is a number of other things. So I think balancing the short term and the long term to get over all the hurdles that come with either startup life or allergy life.
Yeah.
But you know, everything that you do that's hard is balanced out by everything that you get that's amazing. And we could be, you know, we received a lot of negative comments when we went viral on TikTok in the early days because we didn't really have any traction.
TikTok is awful.
TikTok is awful.
I'm just saying, I was on there for 5 minutes and now I'm not doing this anymore.
TikTok and Candy Crush are the two things I refused to download because I was scared that my addictive personality with that would go into all sorts of places.
But TikTok is, the comment section on TikTok is Terrifying.
But when you haven't built yourself up and then you get comments that knock you down, you don't have anywhere to stand. When you have 2 life-threatening scenarios treated with our kits and 300 schools across the UK installing them and incredible feedback 24/7, and then you get some hate.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't land. And I think that's what's so important, that we know we're doing the right thing. And when the hard things come, we know that we'll overcome them or that they'll pass, because overall we're on the right path and things are going well. And I mean it when I say, you know, we got each other, because James is the best co-founder I could have asked for, honestly. And, you know, the Kitt team is literally me, James, Johnny, Simon, and Olivia, who just joined us. And it's a small team, but we are working with some bloody smart, driven people. And I don't feel like there's anything we can't really do, to be honest.
Yeah. Because this podcast is Behind the Allergy, I just wanted to touch on one other thing. Zak, you have been, since the beginning, the face of the brand. You have the allergy. You talk about allergies because you have experience from it. But now I see there's more interviews with the both of you, and it's now co-founding, like the chat about co-founders. I met you during like the Allergy Free From show. How have you transitioned into more of, this is the company face rather than this is my face and I have a company?
I think I'll let James speak for most of this, but what is super interesting is the company's face is perceived by the marketing. And the marketing is not a perception that's true of the company. It's just marketing.
Although it is the truth. It's what you want it to be, right?
Yeah.
So it's
but it's not this is a looking glass into the entire company. It's what we want. It's what we want people to see. That's the idea of it. It shows the best successes. It shows my face because of my allergy story. I'm the one that creates it, so obviously I'm the one in it. The rest of the team is in it to some degree when it feels natural and right, but most of the time I'm the one producing it, so I'm the one in it. I'm the one with the stories. I'm the one in it. And
I think it was probably at the point that we started getting into a certain number of schools. Like when we hit 100 schools, we realized that the way to best support the schools was talk about the other schools we have. The best way to grow a company is the social proof that comes with providing your service to whatever the market might be. So I think once we got to about 100 schools, we realized that our stories weren't just our stories, it was everyone else's stories. So to get to 200 schools, we knew that we needed to talk about the 100 schools that we just had. And those 100 schools were those kind of trendsetters who had the community as like the focal point and had the story and taken action. They were like our early adopters. So as we continue to tell the stories of those people who have been positively impacted by what we're doing, it becomes a company voice more than it becomes like an individual's voice. While Zak remains the spokesperson because, well, the kind of passion sits within, not that it doesn't with me, but it's first person for Zak, is second or third for me. And therefore we knew that speaking about other people would be really helpful for building the business and really gaining the momentum. I think something like 30% of our schools actually come from either another school or a parent or a trust or whatever it might be. So lots of it comes from word of mouth, because if we're making a positive impact, it's quite hard to ignore.
And how, you said that you basically second, third person of allergies. How has your perception of the allergy community about allergies changed since?
So when I say second, third person, it's because growing up with a sister who had allergies, who didn't always pay the best attention to them, went traveling recently and came back and her pens were like just about to go out of date, and she didn't realize when she was out there what if all these scenarios could have gone wrong. My perceptions changed because I think there's a lot of people pushing for change, and there's a lot of people who want to kind of unite voices and push it all in the right direction. And it's just making sure everyone kind of lines up with that. I think maybe before we started the business, it was a very sporadic community. There was voices saying we want to do this and others saying we want to do this, and everyone had their kind of self-interests at the forefront, whereas now the community's come together to a point where we can all head in the same direction. And that maybe in the short term is improved access to allergy provisions in schools, but in the long term is maybe aligning more with how do we mitigate people getting allergies in the first place, or how do we mitigate public kind of perception of allergies. And I think there are so many different things going on, but the allergy world is changing as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's partly due to you.
No. It has changed, and I'm doing a podcast as well with a couple other people who've been in it for a while, and the online world has completely changed. I think Instagram has changed, whereas you're seeing a lot more people responding to it, whereas it used to be a tiny little bubble that, I always said that I was just preaching to a choir, and now I'm preaching to the world. And I loved the community. It's why I started this. It's why I'm doing this. I want to make sure that we are reaching the people who were like me, who didn't feel like they were, who felt like they were alone all the time, feeling embarrassed and feeling like a burden and feeling like, people are going to look down on us, and look at all of us achieving amazing things, doing something, and you're doing a business. And yes, it's about allergies because that's your life, but it's a business. And that's really amazing to see, especially for as well parents, to look and go, oh, my kid could do anything. Allergies are not going to stop them. Whereas I think parents who are now having kids with allergies feel like the world is going to put them down. And we're showing them that no, we can just do everything that normal people can do, I mean, normal in air quotes, but I think it's really important to showcase that you can do it all. Okay, just to end, because let's end it on a great positive note. Is there any advice that you would give to someone who wants to start a business that they feel personally connected to?
My advice would be sort of what we've been talking about, which is make yourself the face, because people love people.
Yeah.
If you are a faceless brand or business, and especially if you're in the early days, what are you? Why does it it is so hard to dig your teeth in and find your anchor and really make your voice heard. And I think that you either have to be really different and new and exciting, or you have to be beautiful and perfect. And there's these things where most people just end up, I think Stephen Bartlett said, they just end up like wallpaper and you don't even notice them. And it's how you're going to stand out. Well, as an individual, you naturally stand out if you have a story to tell. And if you especially have no business traction, then just tell your story and tell it over and over and over again. And that's how you're going to help with pitches. That's going to how you help with websites. It's communication 101, which is fundamentally what, how you would describe your business, how people would get bought into it. It just needs something to latch on to.
I think that's a great way to end it. I've learned more about you and who you are aside of the business today. And, I think it's really important and for people to gauge who you are so that they want to invest, right? But not just even financially, but emotionally invest in you, and to feel like, yes, I want to stay watching what you guys are going to do. I remember you messaging me being like, oh, I'm starting this new business, and I was like, oh, cool, yeah, that's really cool. And then just
yeah,
it's amazing. And I'm just in awe of you guys, so thank you so much for coming on. Do you want to just show your kit really quickly?
Yeah, this is the kit. And obviously when you initially saw it back in 2020 and 2021, it was it was first a university concept, and then it was like a pilot, and then at the start of last year we created and launched this officially, and based very similar to your defibrillator, so wall mounted on in accessible places. We provide these keys that go in a breakable emergency box or on a lanyard as well, so you've always got one accessible, but otherwise the kit's pretty secure. It was that balance of making sure it's accessible but also not stealable and tamperable. You push the key in, turn to the left, comes out the wall mount there, lift the latch, and inside we store 4 adrenaline pens. So 2 in each dose. We clearly label the age and weight of which that person should have that dose, strapped in securely, and then obviously below, really easy to follow instructions that are very similar to what the instructions are on the pen itself, but just bigger. And I think in an emergency, the point that you could just lay this down, look at it, and really just sort of be guided through, really, really helps. And then, as we've talked about, we monitor the expiry dates, replace them every year. We provide online training. It's a whole all-in-one service. So
I think it's really important as well that you do that, because every auto-injector is different. And, we have that EpiPen, orange to the sky, blue to the thigh, but
Jack's pens
it's
aren't
yellow.
like that. Yeah.
So it's really
Yellow
important
and
that you have, it's important that we have, what to do. And they're the same, but it's just different colors. You did say you wanted allergies to be sexy, and it is like you were showing. I was like, oh, hello, that's really cool. So yeah, that's amazing.
He wasn't referring to us; it was referring to them.
Oh no, of course, yeah. That you did the mayor's award thing, and I saw it, and someone was like, "Did you have EasyJet in mind?" And I just cackled at that.
Yeah.
I was like, I would love that. Imagine if you had like a campaign with EasyJet for it. But yeah, I think that's amazing, and also the tagline, like a defibrillator, but for allergies. And I think that's really cool. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you for having us.
Oh my God, that was so fun.
Oh, wow.
So fun. I know, it's so weird, isn't it? Okay, now how do we... Okay, that was in.
Back to the real world.
How do we just stop?